we're not being included in the business aspect. When I say we, I mean the Black and minority community are not being included in the conversations when it comes to cannabis legalization and legislation.
That's Oneal Latimore, a cannabis consultant and soon-to-be hemp processor in Chester County, Pennsylvania. This is the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. I am your host, Eric Harlock, and on today's show, we talked to Oneal about developing supply chains in Pennsylvania around industrial hemp, as well as the concerns that communities of color have when it comes to this new world of legal cannabis. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. This week's podcast is brought to you by Wagner's Greenhouses in Altoona, Pennsylvania. We met Alan Wagner a few weeks ago here on the podcast, episode 35. Go back and listen to it. He's got a great story. He was a commercial greenhouse grower for 40 years, but this year he went all in on industrial hemp. His greenhouses were full of high CBD Colorado genetics, a variety called Young Sim 10. He's already sold hundreds of thousands of hemp seedlings, but he's got some more that he thinks you can use at your hemp operation. Maybe you've got some losses in the field where you pulled out male plants, or maybe your germination rates weren't that great, or maybe you didn't even get a chance to plant. You've got your permit, you have your seed, but it's been raining and you didn't get a chance to plant. Here's your opportunity. It's not too late to get in the game. Really good prices too. You can get a flat of 72 plants for $56. That's less than 80 cents a plant. You need an acre? No problem. You need 5 plants? No problem. Call Wagner's Greenhouses, 814-937-4056. Make sure you tell them you heard it on Lancaster Farming's Industrial Hemp Podcast. Wagner's Greenhouses, 814-937-4056 for high CBD hemp seedlings available now. Okay, welcome back. So before we get into the interview with Oneal Latimore, I thought we'd check in with one of our regular hemp farmers. You remember Tom Culton from Hempfield? So you getting some work done today?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what's going on over there in the farm?
I just got done applying some horn silica to the newest planting that we got in about a week ago.
Horn silica, what's that about?
That's to enliven the plants and to bring them into accord with the quartz that we already have in the soil. So
cool.
Trying to build some dynamization here.
So how many plants do you have in the ground?
We're north of 5,000 already.
Whoa.
We're about halfway there.
Different varieties?
About 7 in so far, and then 3 on the way.
And those seedlings are waiting, in a greenhouse somewhere, ready to go?
Some are on the wagons, hardening off, that are going to go in as soon as we get some stable weather here. I finished the beds for those before we started getting rain all week. So as soon as it's not terrible to get in the field, we'll stick those in. Then I have some in a tunnel that are just ready to come out after that.
Okay.
I have a steady line here ready. Right. And then we concluded the project we started in March. So we're just doing some analysis on that, seeing if that approach would be viable for the future. And it might be the research we did might be a way for us to alleviate cross-pollination, at least for a portion of the season.
Whoa. So can you talk about the project you started in March?
Yeah, it's just we're using genetics that flower earlier, and they're not subject to the photo period.
Where'd they come from?
Switzerland.
Wow.
Yeah, so none of that's available for the market or anything. We just sent the test off, but we're going to see if that's a viable option for the future. We're going to do the second half of that and see how it does for the second part of the season. And we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, keep me posted on that. What's the spacing you're doing in the fields?
Depending upon variety. With those, it was much closer because the plants are much smaller.
Okay.
But we're going at 4.5 feet.
Okay.
I want to give them plenty of airflow here. And
right.
In the field, we're doing, it depends. I'm not militant about my row spacing too much, as long as they're 5 feet apart. Okay. I wanted plenty of aisles, so I could get equipment down through there if I need to, and if I have to emergency spray, like we just put horn silk on, so we ran a horse down through the middle and we used a corn sprayer that's usually for spraying fully tasseled corn, and we sprayed with that. So it's nice to have cool neighbors.
Did you listen to last week's podcast?
With Judy, yeah. Judy's the best. She's what we need more of in this industry. She's definitely a visionary in our community. If anybody's out there and they're that hitting a chord with them, I'd suggest aligning yourself with the likes of Judy Wicks.
Okay. Thank you, Tom Culton, for the update. Tom Culton from Culton Biologique in West Hempfield Township, Lancaster County. So, speaking of aligning yourself with the likes of Judy Wicks, our next guest has done just that. Oneal Latimore is part of Judy Wicks's Proud Pennsylvania group, that's statewide initiative to unite rural and urban communities. He's part of the Industrial Hemp Local Supply Chain Coalition, and we're going to hear all about that. Just heads up, I had some issues with my microphone last week, so the sound quality of the interview is slightly different than normal, but I think you can overlook that because it's a great interview with Oneal. Here we go. Oneal Latimore, welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. Could you introduce yourself for us?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Eric. My name is Oneal Latimore. I am the Chief Operations Officer for Nottingham Farms, and we are a full-service hemp processor out in Chester County, looking to do fibrous production as well as CBD oil extraction on contract services for small farmers, as well as larger farms in the Pennsylvania region.
You also do some consulting work too. Is that what led you to Nottingham Farms?
Correct. I've been doing some consulting work for about 10 years now. I have been living in Oregon and working in the medical marijuana industry as that came to maturity. And I was a farmer there, got some experience in cultivation, and then began to use those skills to help other people build out their farms, get really good growing practices and cultivation methods in place, get some really good products that are earth friendly, local, all of that good stuff. So trying to really course correct the hemp industry away from the traditional high pesticide, high fertilizer market into a little bit more of a holistic farming practice.
So what brought you back east then?
Unfortunately, there was some family issues. My mother passed last year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And yeah, and thank you. That kind of forced me to look at what the direction of my life was going. Mm-hmm. And I had been far removed I grew up here in West Philly. All of my family is over here on the East Coast. I went to school out in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And I feel like I was removed from the East Coast. And so after all of that, I came back to connect with my family. And when I was here, I noticed that the cannabis industry was just coming online. Mm-hmm. A lot of people didn't know what was going on. And a lot of the politicians had no idea on how to steer regulation. So that led a lot of the community members to be misunderstood about cannabis legislation and legalization and all of that. So I felt there was a moment for me here to apply what I've learned from my time in Oregon and in California, and I can apply it to what's going forward here in Pennsylvania.
Are you actively working with any groups to shape policy?
Yes, right now I'm working with a group called Proud Pennsylvania, and I'm on a couple of their steering committees. One of them is the Hemp Local Supply Chain Coalition, right. And that is connecting farmers and business owners in Pennsylvania so that we all come together at the table to talk about how Pennsylvania can be put on the map in terms of local supply chain cultivation practices. And there's a zero waste commission, there's an adult use commission, there's a lot of other different things that we're pushing on the community level. And right now we're still in the middle of forming a political group. I am working with a group called the Diasporic Alliance of Cannabis Opportunities, and they are a policy action group and they've been doing a lot of work in Harrisburg, meeting with senators and representatives. A couple weeks ago, we were invited to the Capitol, to the Senate floor, and they introduced a resolution recognizing Hemp History Week in Pennsylvania of the first week in June.
Right.
And during that announcement, DACO, the organization I was just talking about, they have been recognized as the official sponsors and host of Hemp History Week in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Right. So we have a bit of a connection to the politicians that way, but we're still forming a committee that is at the table solely with senators, representatives, and industry advocates, so that they can directly hear from people that will be affected by the legislation. And our job on DACO's side is to listen to the community and hear what the community has to say and relay that to the politicians.
All right.
So
what kind
a couple weeks ago, okay.
I'm sorry. I was just going to ask, what kind of concerns are you hearing from the communities?
One of them is we're not being included in the business aspect. When I say we, I mean the Black and minority community are not being included in the conversations when it comes to cannabis legalization and legislation.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that a lot of people have been bringing up at these meetings is the retroactive, I'm not exactly sure what that is. We would go back and release people from prison who have been arrested for low-level marijuana possession, and erase all the convictions, throw out all of those, and so it doesn't stigmatize the people who just a few years ago were doing the exact same things that we have Canadian millionaires coming in and doing right now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of white guys making a lot of money off of something that just a few years ago, or even still, is putting too many people of color in prison for.
Absolutely.
It seems like the shameful part of the hemp industry and the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
What can farmers do to help with that, or how should like white farmers be thinking about this?
Well, they could think, how can I partner up with a group that doesn't look like me, or someone who's not from my community? Because Pennsylvania is a large state. And when we say local supply, we don't mean just in Lehigh County, or just in Dalton County, or just in, Lancaster County. We're talking, when we say local, we're talking the entire state of Pennsylvania.
Right.
And we could even extend that across our borders to Maryland and Delaware, because they're our neighbors.
Right.
So there's a way to put us on the map right now. I heard a rumor that the politicians, they don't know how to do this regulation. They don't know. They're so lost. So they're waiting, and they're seeing a state come through and do it right, and everybody else is going to piggyback off of that.
Right.
And I think we have an opportunity here in Pennsylvania to be that model that other people will look at, other states will look at and say, that's a great model. Because the model that we're building includes everybody. It includes politicians, it includes business owners, it includes community members, it includes the insurance companies, it includes, it's a very inclusive plan that once people hear it and understand it and see it, I believe will have a snowball effect when it comes to cannabis.
In the country, right?
In the country, absolutely. I've already seen it since I've been back here just this last year. It was almost, crickets when I first got back here, and now that's all you're hearing is hemp and CBD. And we just heard that Red Bull just purchased a machine that they're going to release CBD into one of their products, and it's going to be mellow energy.
Wow.
Come on. You know what I'm saying? Anything that they can do, that CBD number, that just those three letters can put a 25% premium on the product.
Yep.
And that's something that we need to look at and say, do we want to price people out of this market just because we can.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the pharmaceutical industries are doing. And that's why we got that Martin Shkreli guy. Because he said there's no law that doesn't say I can't jack the price, so I'm going to do it. And there was nothing stopping him except for, whatever they got him on.
Right.
But it wasn't jacking the price up, because that's still happening with all of those pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
So one of the things is, as farmers, providing a really good crop and doing it. Hemp is one of those crops that you can grow without fertilizers and pesticides, and it takes half the water. So your cost is going to go way down. So if we're able to transfer those price drops to the consumer, that is one way I think the farmers can help. But also the business owners are really the ones that do a lot of the markup to price people out. When you get a production run bottle that's $12 and you're selling it for $120, that's not really, that's a sustainable market for a very small portion of our society.
Right.
And we need everyone to be involved in this.
A question that I usually ask guests on the show is, how can farmers avoid getting the short end of the stick? And the way, the CBD markup is going, it seems like a lot of people are going to make money from it, but not necessarily the farmers. So we do need to sort of build that connection up so the farmers can actually, make a living from this.
Absolutely. And I have a plan for that, because I was a farmer for 10 years. So I know as a farmer what I would need. I've been a business owner for 12 years, so I know what I want as a business owner. And now I'm talking to the politicians, and now I'm seeing what they are needing to hear. And then another part that's been kind of hidden in this whole equation are the investors and the people, not just the people who are coming in with millions of dollars. I mean, people who are just coming in with a couple $100 or volunteering their time or, utilizing their resources to help get the industry going and helping the farmers access equipment, forming a agricultural co-op. That'd be one way that farmers can help solidify their place in this market. One of the things is to have a collective of farmers that once you join this collective, it's agreed upon set price per acre, we'll call it, or per pound or something like that. That then is industry wide, statewide. Everybody understands it. Everyone agrees with it. It's fair for all. And we just move together as groups like that, kind of like the dairy farmers do up in Wisconsin. You got these small farmers, and everybody pulls it together under one name, and based on the sales of that, everybody gets their dividends based on the input that their farm supplied that year.
Right. I'm not sure if the dairy industry is the great model, because right now there's a lot of dairy farms going out of business, and there's a lot of it's like the price is set by, I guess, the government. I don't fully understand how the dairy industry works, but there's a lot of turmoil in there. I mean, in Lancaster County alone, there's farms closing all the time. And I've heard a lot of, dairy farmers who are even turning to industrial hemp to help save the farm.
Absolutely.
But I think at the core of that, the coalitions of farmers and, them grouping together is the right way to go. But I think there's within the dairy industry, there's this extra level of, I don't even know what you call that, red tape, administration. I don't know. This seems like there's some kind of.
Well, the dairy lobby, the lobbyists, they are some of the top. So it really, once these lobbyists get in there and they're talking to only the head of the companies, these large companies, it's easy for the large companies to lose sight of the smaller folk, and it happens easy. I'm involved with a couple of large companies, and I have to keep reminding them, hey, remember what we're doing this for. Let's bring this back down, and be able to provide this for people.
Right.
Out in Oregon, I've seen a lot of it. A lot of the companies would get so big, they come in with outside money. It's such an exclusive market. The prices are so high. It forces people to the black market.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that, as a farmer, it's just what you need to do to survive.
Right.
And that's why a lot of in Oregon and all that are moving to hemp right now, because the risk is just, it's not worth it.
Mm.
It's definitely not worth it.
Let's get back to local supply chains.
Okay.
Why are they so important?
I believe that you contribute to the area that you live in, and it increases the quality of life for yourself and for the people around you. And that's really, I feel like, that's what our aim is, to increase the quality of our own lives. And however that is, all of, vacations, jobs, all of that stuff. I think when you're as a business owner and you know that you have other business owners in your area that are all, you're not, I wouldn't say friends, but you have a working relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that era of competition and that level of competitiveness is just, it's good on one hand for a national market. I feel like when it comes to local communities, small regions, there's a place for everyone
Mm-hmm.
to fulfill every niche of this that we need. And if you constantly grab from the outside, you may be overlooking someone in your community that provides the same products, those same services. And there's a couple of different things they have to do, is either raise their premiums or they go out of business because we can't compete with the outside larger conglomerates.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think staying local helps to strengthen your neighbors and your neighbor's business and your community's quality of life. The place your kids go to school, the more taxes that a business pays, the more money that goes into the municipal departments of that
Mm-hmm.
city. Therefore, it's just a circular economy.
Right.
And as soon as we get that power and we understand where the blockages in financial allocations are, that's where I feel we'll really start to progress and move forward. When the politicians are most of the local politicians are your neighbors.
Right.
So if your neighbors, local politicians, are coming into your coffee shop to get coffee and they love that, and then they find out that there's muffins made from someone across the block, and there's, new drinks made from this person over here, and then there's somebody playing music from the local community. I think all of that just brings in a sense of community that's it's intangible, and also there aren't really words for it.
Right.
It's just a feeling, and there's something strong about having that. We're communal creatures. We are pack animals. So I feel like just reinforcing that will just help us get back to who we are as people, as humans, and not so disconnected.
Right.
And so it's real easy to out of sight, out of mind, to when you're thinking about, going to Amazon to buy something, so to speak. It's like you might go to Amazon and buy paper towels. Why? Because they're 25% cheaper, but you now have not gone to the local store, and that local store now has to, balance out their inventory based on the sales and all of these different things. And then maybe that store goes out of business, and maybe that person who owned the business was your son's soccer coach. Right. And now instead of having a championship soccer team, you now don't even have a soccer coach, and all because of you bought paper towels from Amazon. Right. I'm not saying that that's really the direct connection, but in my mind, I kind of feel the Cliff Notes version is that.
Yeah, it's like we've lost that sense of community over the past, 30 years, whether it's from technology or whatever. And yeah, I hear you. Building the local supply chains would sort of thread that tapestry back together, and we would be stronger as communities, as people, by having those in place. Yeah.
Yep.
Where do you see the hemp industry in 5 years or in 10 years?
Oh boy. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been keeping myself up at night over the last couple of days, thinking about this, watching what could happen for Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
we could set ourselves up to be leaders in a few different industries.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have small business development in the cannabis industry. Downtown Philadelphia, there's a few co-working spaces, and I think in each one of them is some ancillary cannabis business being incubated right now. And as just a think tank of small business development for green companies, not just for cannabis, but any type of green, eco-friendly company,
Mm-hmm.
I think we have an opportunity to maybe be a little hub here. People come here, conferences, people come here to check out the small business development centers that we have all around the state, because we've figured out a way to bring in the farmers all the way through to the city dwellers, and that encompassed every person in our state. And now the hemp, the number one product coming out of Pennsylvania is hemp. We have some of the best schools because we're able to allocate these funds the right way. Because once people start to see that they have that power in the policies, we'll be able to start getting things done the way that we want them to get done, and the way that we believe that the things should be done. And I feel like dropping this stigma is going to help lead to dropping a lot of other stigmas surrounding other practices and other plants, and whatever that is.
Do you mean the marijuana stigma around hemp?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The stigma around hemp, and because it is the same plant, but it is different at the same time. It's a really hard, and the education really needs to go to a whole new level. I see the adult use cannabis bill being something that could really do some change in this state, and that's being introduced by Senator Street. I think it's called Senate Bill 350. I believe it's called, the adult use cannabis bill. And so that would, not only decriminalize it and legalize it, but it would also allow businesses to get licensed, and the state would start issuing licenses. And now, if the state were to see this as an opportunity to, one, control the supply chain of cannabis, because that is a big security point, understandably. Lots of people worry about that on the security side. So if the state could run it like they run the liquor stores,
right,
they would be providing jobs, government jobs with benefits. They'd be providing security. They'd be providing access, because liquor stores are everywhere. And of course the state's going to want to put cannabis stores everywhere, because that's what people are going to demand. We want one in our neighborhood. And so we'll have cannabis stores everywhere. They're providing jobs. They're able to sell on a set price, so no one's getting, gouged out of the market. And then on the other end, the state can have connections with every cannabis farmer in the state,
right,
and buy directly from the farmer. And the state says, here's a contract. We're going to buy every gram that you can produce to these standards, right? And now the state is purchasing from the farmers at a, whatever what we're happy with, somewhere around $3 or $4 a gram. That's a good price for a farmer. So if the state would buy it from us for, say, $2 a gram, and they turn around and sell it for $5 a gram, there we go. The state is making money. Everybody's paying taxes. The farmers are getting involved. They're getting paid. They're getting their whole crop taken care of. The people are getting provided with a good medicine. We have the security. The state has the controls. It's almost perfect. It's like, but a lot of people we don't want to give up control of the cannabis, the flower selling portion. I've run into a lot of business owners that don't like that idea of having the state control that.
Okay.
I feel that it's only a matter of time. Look, just until a couple months ago, the state controlled all liquor sales, right?
Right.
Now that Acme can apply for a permit to sell beer and wine.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So that's all that's going to happen. That's not a problem. And then the state controls all the sales. And now I'm a business owner and I want to have a cannabis license. Now I go to the state and get a cannabis business license, annual review. You know, my business has to be up on taxes, all of that stuff. And now I can get a cannabis business license. And now I can allow people to consume cannabis on my premises, still not selling it, but you can consume it on my premises. So it's outside. You're not in public, but I have a license that says you can come in here, consume, and go. And I feel that's going to open up ancillary businesses, barbershops, coffee shops, lounges, all of that stuff, all the stuff that happened back in the speakeasy days. I feel like that could be what we move into, where Philly is already known for really good music. And I need to do some more traveling around the state, but everywhere we go, there's probably something. There's tourist attractions everywhere. Yeah. And if we're able to integrate this cannabis into the tourist industry before a lot of these other states do it, they'll look at us at how to do it.
As the model. Yeah, I mean, that gets a little bit away from the industrial hemp side of this podcast, but it's all connected. And as far as places in Pennsylvania to go, Lancaster City right now it's amazing, like very cultural, lots of great music, lots of things happening there. So if you haven't been out there, go to Lancaster.
Lancaster, it's a lot different, I'm sure, from when I left.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You said you're out in Hershey. Yeah, it's very different.
It was about 20 years.
Yeah.
22 years since I've been out there.
Yeah. So check it out. Lots of great music venues and cool stuff happening. Hey.
All right. But I think the main thing for the farmers is joining some type of coalition.
Right.
And, you know, Proud Pennsylvania, with the local hemp supply chain, we're going to be, you know, actively looking for members to come and be a part of our conversations. And they can get this information as some of the policies are being written out. They could have some input on some of these plans, kind of like what I talked about today.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, what does a farmer think about that? How do you feel about joining a group where we work out profit sharing models based on the input of your farm and things like that, and processing? And there's a lot of, and what we're doing, getting all the way back to Nottingham Farms, we're going to be processing hemp fiber and CBD flower.
Okay.
So if you're a small farmer and you just want to try it out and put up 1 to 2, 3 acres or so, we'll be able to process that for you and talk to you about the options of what to do with the product afterward. It can be wholesale at one price. It can be, you know, you can become profit sharing with a end product. We can link you up with one of these businesses that then they have a direct connection with the farmer. And now that's part of the business's story that's providing this product in the cities. Say, hey, we have a direct connection with the farmer. Right. Here's a picture of them. You know, we go out and have drinks every week. You know, that type of, those stories are really, really good, and they draw in customers, lifetime customers, just because of the culture of the company.
So how can people find you? How can farmers get in touch with you?
With me right now, I have a few different ways. We have Instagram at the Eastern Hemp Company. That's one of the ways to get in touch. That's one of the larger umbrella name-only memberships that we're looking to see. We have a couple of them out there, and based on the interest, we'll be able to focus our talents, or focus on one. So, Proud Pennsylvania Hemp Local Supply Chain Coalition. I believe you go to the Proud Pennsylvania website. There may be a link there.
Okay.
Also, you can send me an email, Oneal at thevaultedgroup.com, and there will be, I'm sure, Eric, will you post that on your website or something like that?
I'll have all the contact info on the show page for this episode. Yep. Great.
And just be on the lookout for any events that involve hemp or cannabis. Chances are we're going to try to be at every one.
Cool.
I definitely want to make these connections. I want to, I really would like to see farmers get back on track with this, and the uses that we could get out of it is just it's infinite. It's more and more every day. You hear about more and more things going on every day. I just heard about hemp batteries.
Yep.
Somebody making batteries out of hemp, and it says they charge faster and they're cooler than lithium ion. I'm just blown away. I can't believe it.
There's so much potential here. But, Oneal, got to wrap it up for today, but it's great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay, that's Oneal Latimore. You can reach him at thevaultedgroup.com. You can learn more about Proud Pennsylvania at proudpennsylvania.org. My name is Eric Herlock. I'm the digital editor at Lancaster Farming. You can reach me by email, podcast@lancasterfarming.com. Be sure to check us out on the Instagram and subscribe to the newspaper at lancasterfarming.com/podcast-deal. Let's see, what else? A cool show coming up next week. I'm talking to a hemp brokerage company. So stay tuned for that. All right, until next time, I'll see you in the newspaper. Okay, this episode of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast is copyright 2019 Lancaster Farming, which is part of Steinman Communications. Today's show was written, recorded, produced, and edited by Eric Herlock. That's me. Any music you hear, including this weird stuff now, is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow. And also special thanks today to our sponsor, Wagner's Greenhouses in Altoona, Pennsylvania. You should totally give them a call. 814-937-4056. Get some seedlings. Industrial.